Hello and welcome. It is the second day of November 2019. All bets made within your own risk and your own reward. And I've made five of them. Well, four, but I put them all together in a parlay as well. And they're all pretty much the exact same odds, exact same bet. I don't know why some of these particular teams are favored. And, well, basically, I'm playing small underdogs on every single one to win by two. This one was a big underdog earlier, Edmonton. And the other ones aren't as big as that. Rangers, Nashville, nothing there. Montreal, Dallas. We have Dallas as a small favorite. At home to the Montreal Canadiens. Nothing there. Ottawa, massive large underdogs. Plus 300, minus 390 for Boston. Nothing there. Islanders, Buffalo small favorites. Buffalo 9-3, 1-1. It says Islanders 9-3. Something there. Yes, I'm taking the New York Islanders. Laying a goal and a half at a plus 265 price. If we look at flash score, we got New York Islanders coming into this game with all W's here. They beat Tampa Bay 5-2. They beat Philadelphia 5-3. They beat the Ottawa Senators 4-2, and they beat the Coyotes 4-2. Before that, they beat the Blue Jackets 3-2 in an extra period. Buffalo Sabres have lost three of the last four games. We can see losing to Washington 6-1, losing to Arizona 3-2 in overtime, beating the Detroit Red Wings 2-0, and losing to the New York Hockey Rangers 6-2. Buffalo's outscored their opponents 45-39 in regulation time, whereas the New York Islanders 39-29 in that same session. The price is just way too high. Sorry, but I'm trying to move my screens over. About to move the section like that's what I'm trying to do. So that's the first pick. Second game, we got the Detroit Red Wings going on to Florida. Florida's a huge 290 favorite. Nothing there. Toronto Maple Leafs heading into Philadelphia. Toronto a small favorite. Something there. I'm going to be on Philadelphia. Same thing. It would be that of laying a goal and a half at a plus 248 price. And that's just way too big. If the game goes to overtime as it is anyway, as far as like money line bets are concerned, normally I would say the least, but I've watched their last two overtimes and they lost both of them. I don't know how much of it's got to do with the coach, but I got to think Babcock should be on the hot seat right now in Toronto. But that's just my opinion there. Last game, there were two stupid penalties. First by William Nylander. He took a penalty he probably shouldn't have had to take, and then, well, it cost them, of course, having the extra man. And then with 1 second left on that penalty that they pretty much, well, they did successfully kill in time, Mitch Marner took a stupid penalty where he just was too reckless with a stick, we'll say. He was undisciplined. That's a good word for it. How much of that is on the coaching? Well, we'll see. And, well, that cost them. Ovechkin scored. And then after Ovechkin scored that goal, he comes out in the locker room. And long story short, basically says that if the Leafs want to win, I mean, they got to play like a team. It's just, they basically say they're doing pretty bad. So that's an interesting part of the whole motivation thing. And I mean, that's a little part of what I don't like, the fact that it could motivate them. Maybe the big play may be on the over, but such a big number at 6.5 and favored to go over. So even if you take a 7 or 7.5 and play with a big number, that's very, very tough to do. But we also are without Jake Muzzin and we're without Morgan Reilly for Toronto. That's their best defenseman in Reilly. And Jake Muzzin's one of their top tier defensemen as well. When we take a look at this amongst this part in here, Toronto has lost four of their last five, losing to Washington, as I mentioned, losing to Montreal 5-2. losing to San Jose 4-1, or beating San Jose rather 4-1, losing to Boston 4-2, and Columbus 4-3. Now that overtime game, I got to think that was on the coach because Marner and Matthews were the two forwards that were on the ice, and they didn't go off. They were like, okay, why are they playing another? Okay, let's good luck on your offensive possession. They didn't score. And they were like, it was like, I remember playing old video games where when the guys got so tired you couldn't even move when they were skating. And they looked exactly like that. I'm like, well, maybe video games have been right about that aspect. But they were so tired, and well, it cost them that goal. Actually, it wasn't that Columbus game. It would have been because they won that game. It would have been a game before then. But normally the Leafs in overtime would be more of a threatening kind of team. New Jersey, Carolina, nothing there. Columbus hosting the Calgary Flames. It's close. This is like the one that almost made the scale of playing the Columbus Blue Jackets there. Calgary is not impressing me, but really neither is Columbus either. This one you might want to try to wait for goalie because if it's Jake Allen, and I'm playing it as it is anyway, because I still think it's fine without Jake Allen, and yes, I like St. Louis. Moneyline I think is a fine play as well. Any way of playing St. Louis, I gotta think. But the minus 1.5s, they can be so big. Minus plus 268 is the price I got for the Blues here. So we have a situation here where the Blues are 8-3, 2-1. You got to think that's overtime records in there. I'm looking at it for the other one, but they're like tied for first in the league, and Minnesota's tied for last in the league, East Western Conference that is. And Minnesota's favored. Okay, maybe that's line reflected because of Jake Allen, probably net. Even still, I just they're garbage. They are a garbage team compared to St. Louis, and they're favored. Really? All right, let's take a look at it from here on this is by the way, this is flashscore.ca. This gives I mean this is hockey leagues worldwide. You can get Russian leagues, Swedish leagues, minor leagues, the Canadian leagues, which is the junior leagues, the Eastern, those Ontario, the Western, and the Quebec League. All right, so we're looking here at well, there's Minnesota, 4 wins and 9 losses. They've yet to go to overtime. They've been outscored 45-30. They lose last game. This is a home and home. It was 2-1 last time against them, but they lost to Dallas 6-3. They beat LA. Ooh, yeah, this team here. And then they lost to Nashville 4-0. That was huge. They actually beat Edmonton 3-0. But I mean, a lot of games, if they end in regulation, it's just a lot of them end in 2 goals or more these days. So the price that I'm getting on the minus 1.5s are just too high for me to pass up on. So with that being said, that's where Minnesota stands. There we see St. Louis tied with Edmonton for first place. They have won 4 of their last 5 games. They have managed to equally score the goals for and allowed, beating Columbus 4-3 in overtime, beating again St. Louis. Now that's a home and home. That would be the reason why Jake Allen would be in. So that makes sense now. And but even still, I gotta think the lines are reflected for that fact. So if you're like, oh, I want to bet on against St. Louis because of that, well, the lines are so majorly inflated towards that. And then you got the 3-0 loss to Boston. I mean, only Boston is like they have yet to. They've only lost one game in 9-1 in regulation, 0-2 in overtime. I mean, that's just fantastic for them. And they beat the Kings 5-2. But I mean, that's easy. So just a small play, but yeah, Jake Allen, he'll probably go. He will go now for sure on that, of course. Colorado, Arizona, another one that very close to pulling the trigger on with the Colorado Avalanche. Arizona's playing well to start the year. You can see here that but Colorado's playing very well as also. And the fact that they're an underdog, really, I don't think they should be. I think they should be favored in this game. I'm not playing it again. This is one that was like, ew, it was close, but not quite. Winnipeg against the Vegas Knights. Vegas says Vegas should be. I've always said that. Oh, Vegas thinks this on a team, but I've never ever to say Vegas after that. And of course they have to go Vegas. Why can't they say Las Vegas for that exact reason? Because I can say in here, oh, Vegas thinks Arizona's going to do this. Vegas thinks Winnipeg's going to do this. Vegas thinks Las Vegas. That still sounds bad. Yeah. Well, they think that the Knights are going to win it handily. They're 8-6. That's it. So again, this is another one I was like, do I go on play the Jets? Oh, the Jets played last night as well too. So with that being said, probably not. I mean, this price was way higher than it should be, but I think because of that action, it's a fair price when it's all said and done. I'm gonna Vancouver San Jose is the strongest play of the night. Chicago Los Angeles I'm not playing. Mm, Los Angeles is really bad, but so is Chicago. They are really bad as well. I think that's just I remember people say, well, you don't want to bet game. That's just the type of game you want to watch and see what happens. No, no, just watch the highlights of the game if you're a highlight watcher, or just look at the stats when it's over, and that's that. Vancouver, San Jose. Here we go. Game of the night. Let's take a look at this. Well, first of all, the line we have San Jose minus 131, a decent sized favorite, plus 118 for the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver comes into the game 6-3 in regulation, 2-2 in overtime. San Jose 4-9 in regulation, 0-1 in overtime. They've been outscored 34-51. Winnipeg, they lost 3-2 last night, so they're playing a back-to-back. San Jose and Boston, they lost to Boston 5-1. They lost to the Ottawa Senators 5-2. Ottawa sucks. Toronto's kind of sucks too late these days. They lost to them 4-1. Although Toronto's talented though as far as their roster, but without John Tavares and all that stuff. Although John Tavares tonight might play. I don't know if he's going to play or not. He is actually going to Philadelphia, but I don't think that's would be enough for me to not turn away from playing Philly. Anyway, they ended up beating Montreal 4-2. I can click on the name of a team here, and while I wait for it to load, the price action is plus 261 on the Vancouver Canucks. So here we got their past games. But what they highlight, if a team wins in regulation, it's highlighted. So you see here, San Jose Buffalo, 4-3. Buffalo wins in regulation. So here's a 1-goal win by Winnipeg, and they got that goal with 2 minutes left in the game. Boston beats them 5-1, 5-2, double digit win for Ottawa, double digit win for Toronto. And then we have San Jose 4-2 over Montreal, double digit win as an overtime game. Buffalo only a 1-goal game here, so that's the rarity there. Double digit game here, San Jose 5-2, 3. This is how hockey is these days in general. So trying to lay a goal and a half in period has pretty much been the smart play for a few years now. Still looks to be this year. San Jose, Calgary 3-1. There's a spot where they only went 5-4. And then Nashville wins by 3, Ducks win by 2, Vegas wins by 3, and Vegas wins again by 3 goals to start the season off. And the next one up is going to be, well, how does. Let me just hang on a second. Okay, never mind. Next team we're talking about, Vancouver. They got their young team coming together. They just got a bunch of young stars, and they're getting it done. So I don't think anything of this is a fluke. But regarding A parlay. I put them all together as well. I'm the very, very, very small bet. For this is what I like about it. So, I mean, some bets have larger minimum bets. Like when I talk about NFL player props, it's like 20 US bucks. But I put a bet of these four together. That many Bitcoin Cash. Now Bitcoin Cash isn't even 300 bucks. It's almost that though. So I didn't even bet a dollar to win almost a half, 40% of a Bitcoin Cash. The parlay pays 168 to 1 odds. And it's interesting because people have talked about Proline here in Ontario, Canada. If I were to play these exact same four teams to win by at least 2 goals, the payout on this would be, I hope you could, $114 on a $2 bet, or they would pay 57 to 1 odds. So sometimes the odds can be really bad, and it's good to know if you're making any types of bets, how good or bad your odds happen to be. So we have Vancouver beating LA by 5-3. Vancouver beating Florida 7-2. Vancouver beats Detroit 5-2. They beat the Rangers 3-2. We have Vancouver beating Detroit again 5-1. So they've been beating on some shit ass teams, but who are they playing tonight? A shit ass team. They beat the Kings 8-2. They beat the Flyers 3-2 in a shootout. So this is my strongest play of the night. Vancouver should be favored. Any way of trying to find a way of playing these Vancouver Canucks. It's 1:03 p.m. as I'm doing this. I'm going to end this video now as the this game is about to. I was going to say kick off, but puck drop, I guess, would be the answer. It's still 5-6 minutes away from puck drop. But minus 131 for San Jose is wrong. Even if at Vancouver was minus 131, I'd be like, literally, I'd be thinking, is that even high enough? Should Vancouver be like a minus 160 kind of game? San Jose is finding ways of losing games, and Vancouver the opposite. That's the trend right now. They got a good bunch of good young players on that team. In fact, let's take a look at a few of them. So their opening line, which is, yeah, man, whatever. There's a lot of opening lines that are like second lines, and this might be one of them. But Bo Horvat's doing very good. Tanner Pearson, Jake Vertanen, but Brock Boser, Elias Peterson, and JT Miller have been fantastic. And Josh Levo, what a pickup he was from the Toronto Maple Leafs. With Autumn Gaudette, Brandon Sutter. Brandon Sutter's been actually really effective for them, as is Josh Levo. And on defense, Alexander Edler and Tyler Myers have just been fantastic. And Colin Hughes, Chris Tanev. I mean, this is a good defensive unit. I have to think that they have got out there. And thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.